Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for February 4th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great afternoon, a great evening, and my goodness, did we have a wild price action move yesterday as the tariffs were prepared to roll out on Tuesday, and despite the real tough talk, both Mexico and Canada came to an agreement, provided concessions to the president, allowing the president to pause those tariffs for 30 days as negotiations go on. However, China, not so much. China decided, although their market continues to be closed for the lunar holiday, decided to roll out tariffs against the United States and followed through with that. So we're probably in a little bit of a battle between the U.S. and China. Let's take a look at what happened elsewise, other than just tariffs last night around the world. Asian markets were responding mostly higher last night, and simply because of the pause in tariffs, but things bounced around here quite a bit. The Australian markets ended up closing lower last night just by 0.06%. The Nikkei was up 0.72%. India saw some sharp increases, up 1.62% on the Nifty 50. And Hong Kong was higher by 2.83%. Shanghai, oh, by the way, South Korea also was up. Shanghai was still closed due to the lunar holiday. If we take a look at European markets, we got a little bit of a mix going on in here. They were all decidedly bearish yesterday, but a little tiny bit of a move trying to push things back up. The DAX right now is up a whopping 52 cents. And just ticked lower and is now down 24 cents, so very flat. The FTSE happens to be down 0.20% or 1743, and the CAC right now is positive by 0.21% or 1687. If we look at U.S. futures, well, we've got a little bit of a mix going on in here as well. We've got actually that has just changed. We have the Dow futures down 132 points at the moment. S&P 500 futures are lower by $9.50, and the NASDAQ futures are down by $3. So little bit of bearishness there in the market as the China tariffs come into play here, and then of course a pretty busy morning of earnings reports here as well starting to roll out. If we take a look at our bond prices here this morning, the 2-year bonds are trading in there at 4.26%. 10-year bonds at 4.58%, and those 30-year bonds are creeping up to 4.82% this morning. If we take a look at the U.S. dollar is moving just slightly higher here this morning. Trying to get something going here. We'll want to keep an eye on that here this morning as well as we get this fluctuation in the bond prices. If we take a look at cryptos here this morning, boy, it was a wild ride in Bitcoin for those of you who trade it. My goodness, what a wild ride yesterday. Going quite negative and then back to positive, and this morning we're back negative, down at $2,540 a coin, or 2.5%. Ether, which was really lower yesterday and bounced off of the lows, but it is now bouncing up this morning, up 1.51% or $41 a coin. Mostly lower in those cryptos here this morning. If we take a look at precious metals, gold had one heck of a day yesterday, really pushing up and then faded at the end, faded back just a little bit. But this morning we've got gold just a little bit lower right now, down $15.50 an ounce. And we've got silver this morning down 22 cents an ounce here, so we'll want to be keeping an eye on that. Copper just ever so slightly higher. Platinum and palladium are also lower here this morning. If we take a look at oil this morning and take a look at maybe XLE in here, you can see those producers had a nice little pop up yesterday, but oil itself kind of fluctuated back and forth quite a bit yesterday, surging up really hard as that uncertainty on tariffs were really pumping it early in the morning, and then it faded back. Well, this morning we actually have oil dropping pretty strongly. We've got oil itself, oil futures at the moment down $1.27 a barrel at 71.87, and Brent crude is also lower at 75.09. Natural gas that had a really good move up yesterday, pulling back pretty strongly, almost 12 cents lower here this morning on natural gas. So keep a close eye on those. A lot of fluctuations here as this uncertainty spills out on the market. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today, remembering that we want to shake off that bias. We want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. Well, clearly, as we continue in this tariff situation, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and we're running into some of those struggles, albeit a really strong move back up yesterday when we heard that we were pausing on Mexico, and Mexico was providing 10,000 troops to stop the flow of drugs into the country. We'll want to keep a close eye on this because we're not done. Remember, negotiations have to happen with both now Mexico and China, and we're not finished. And of course, then there's still the threat of European tariffs out there. So stay on your toes. We're likely to see some substantial volatility as these news reports roll out. If you take a look here at the diamonds, big strong move there yesterday, recovering substantially. We're coming back up into some resistance here in the chart. If those bulls can find inspiration here on the day, then pushing on through, we might see that opportunity to push right on up and retest these recent highs in the chart, which of course would give us that opportunity of a potential breakout here to all-time highs. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration here on the day, then you can certainly see that possibility here where we could push back down and retest these support areas in the chart, and breaking down beyond there would probably raise some concern or fear. If we take a look at our moving averages here, we did hold that 50-day moving average, so that's a good sign here on the diamonds. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility that we could still fade back and retest or test that 50-day moving average. If we take a look at our SPY in here, gapping a little bit lower here this morning after that big push to the upside, and you can see in here we have this resistance right here in the chart. Unfortunately, we've also created another lower high in the chart followed by a lower low. So anytime this occurs, we have a technical downtrend in place. If the bulls can push on through, well, first thing we need to do is push through this resistance right in here, and then we can start pushing up to see how we deal with the resistance above here in the chart and that downtrend. However, if those bears were to get going here on the day, well, of course, pushing back down in here would be something we'd want to be paying attention to, but it would probably start to raise a little bit of concern if we come on back down here to test this area of price support and the channel of that downtrend. So watch that carefully. QQQ averted that yesterday, where we didn't make a new low here. We ended up doing more of a double bottom situation here in the chart, but unfortunately we still have that lower high in here. So if those bulls can find inspiration here, first we need to break back through the high of yesterday's candle, and then we'll see how we can deal with this downtrending area here in the Qs. Pushing through there, however, we might be right back up here testing resistance in that area of the chart. So watch that closely. If the bears, however, were to have some kind of push here on the day, you can see we've got a little bit of price support. It comes all the way back over here. Some price support in the chart that could hold us right in this area. If that were to fail, it wouldn't be all that hard to see a retest of those lows yesterday if those bears were to get going. Now, breaking down beyond that point is where some real fear would probably come up in the QQQ, because that would constitute a lower low. So we'd have this low, lower high, and then that potential lower low, which would create some concern, obviously, in the NASDAQ. And then if we look at our IWM, well, old IWM had a pretty good recovery yesterday, pushing back up. We've got this resistance in the chart right here, and you can see that little bit of a gap down here this morning causing a little bit of concern. But if we can see those bulls push on through, let's see if we can retest the resistance of yesterday's candle high and then start pushing up into this area of resistance. If we can pop through there, then we might be right back up into this consolidation zone. We may have to rest a little bit in there, but see that opportunity to pop on through and maybe get something going here on the Russell. You can see the Russell in here, that higher low could actually be a little bit of an upside trend hope in the chart. Now, if the bears get anything going, you can see we've got this price action support level right in here and this trend break right in here that we may try to hold as support. But if that were to break and we come back down and retest the low of this candle, the real concern in the market would be a failure of that low, and we might come down here and fill the rest of this gap and even start looking lower than that here on IWM. So watch that closely. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX, quite a wild ride in the VIX yesterday. So if you're an options trader, just kind of keep in mind, implied volatility of the market is pretty high. Uncertainty is something that the market hates, and that creates higher prices for options. That extrinsic value of options goes up in price, meaning you're paying more premium on every option you trade. So make sure you're considering that carefully, and watch carefully for the bid-ask spreads that are likely going to continue to be wide, particularly at the open of the day as we continue to slosh around in this uncertainty. Now, if those bulls can get inspiration here today, maybe a push back down, see if we can test this 17 3/4 area here, support area of the VIX, and see if we can push back down through there and maybe even start coming in to completely fill this gap up here in the chart. If, however, though, those bears were to find inspiration here on the day, and we see that fear bouncing off of this area and creeping up, notice we've got some price resistance. I'm going to back that off. We've got some price resistance right in here, and then we might start pushing right on through here to the upside, raising that concern in the market. And we've got some resistance levels up in here that we'll want to be watching if those bears were to get going on anything. And then let's take a look at our T20s. Our T2122 made a remarkable move yesterday. we were up in this area here yesterday after the selling on Friday reversed the market. But when we opened yesterday, we were opened down in here in the bullish reversal zone. And we did get that nice reversal back up. But you can see that what we ended up creating in here, just a little bit of lift off of that bullish reversal zone, means that if the bears have anything to say today, we've got room to move to the downside. So watch that carefully here this morning, as that possibility could occur with all the data that we have coming our way in earnings and economic news. And then, of course, the uncertainty on tariffs. Then we'll want to take a look at the bullish side of this. If the bulls can get going in here, hook this back around, start pushing back up, well, you can see we've got some resistance up in here. That might relieve an awful lot of pressure right now that we see in the market. Keep a close eye on that. Let's take a look at our T2108. Now our T2108, it dropped hard yesterday in the morning, but recovered quite a bit. Unfortunately, what we have done is we've kind of given up a little bit of price support here in the chart. We do have good support levels here that we're holding above in the chart, so watch that closely. If the bears find inspiration, look for a push down into here. Possible break of that could move us substantially lower in here. If the bulls, however, find inspiration, push back up, maybe testing some of these resistance and then pushing back up toward that 50% is what the bulls are going to want to see. Right now we've got about just short of 40% of the stocks holding above that 40-day moving average. If we take a look at our T2107, well, T2107, kind of the same story. Yesterday pushed down pretty hard. We ended up at the end of the day kind of holding on to this area of price support here in the chart. So if those bulls can find inspiration here today and start pushing back up, maybe we come back up here and retest those highs around 50% of the stocks above their 200-day. Of course, if those bears were to find inspiration here and start pushing us on down, we'll want to be watching these areas of price support in the chart for that potential. And then last but not least, we got T2101, and T2101 actually hooked up yesterday. Unfortunately, that hookup to the upside was on a bearish wave. There was more breadth to the bearish side yesterday than the bullish. We'll want to be watching this pretty darn closely. If we continue to see those bears push and we continue to see that move up, that can really embolden those bears. Watch that closely. But I do think there is a possibility here, guys, just as we start to slide out from under this blackout period here for corporate buybacks, we might start seeing this pick back up on the bullish side with a little bit more breadth, and so might see some, particularly the big tech giants, start buying their own stock back up, trying to hold prices. So watch that carefully here in T2101. I think anything is possible. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got some things to be considering here today. First off, we're going to get factory orders here this morning. Factory orders, we're looking at a negative 0.6. That's a decrease or a worst case scenario from the negative 0.4 that we saw last time. Keep a close eye on that. We saw some improvement in manufacturing numbers. It would be kind of interesting to see factory orders, which be seeing declines, while we saw some of our manufacturing PMIs improve. So watch that carefully. Then we're going to get that job openings report. Right now, consensus is suggesting 8 million jobs here on that job openings report. Remember, if this comes in hot or above this number, that can worry the market about inflation. Watch that carefully. We need to continue to see this decline, I think, in the market, or we might see those bears raise their ugly head on that. We have also several Fed speakers here today to be paying attention to, and some bond announcements. Remember, as you plan forward into Wednesday, a little bit busier day here on the economic calendar, we're going to get those mortgage applications expectations. We've got ADP, International Trading Goods, and the Treasury Refunding Agreement. But then we've got some Fed speak. We're going to get PMI Composite Final in here. We've got ISM Services, a Petroleum Status Report, bond auctions, and more Fed speak. So watch that carefully for tomorrow as you plan forward. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, my goodness, y'all, it's a busy one, and I'm not going to be able to cover everything here this morning. So if you guys want to catch the full list of notables here for the day, make sure you click the link just below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog where you can catch that full list of notables. But this morning, we're going to be dealing with things from like ADM, Archer Daniels, moving a little bit lower here this morning. We've got PepsiCo in here this morning. PepsiCo moving lower. Not the best of reports here on that. We're going to hear from Estee Lauder. Estee Lauder also moving lower here this morning. KKR moving down here today. We've heard from Merck already this morning, sharply lower coming in here on Merck. We've got Pfizer reporting. That is a bright spot, trying to move a little bit higher. PayPal moving lower here this morning, so we'll want to be keeping an eye on that. WTW, well, WTW kind of flat here so far this morning. So a lot of things moving around here this morning on those earnings reports to be paying attention to. If we take a look at what we've got going in the in the afternoon, not the bullish, in the afternoon reports, we're going to hear from things like EGHT. We've got Juniper that will be reporting. We've got Amgen that will be in there. We've got Google. It will be the most notable for the day today, so keep an eye on those. And we're going to hear from things like Mattel, Mondelez in the afternoon. So quite a few reports here today to be paying attention to. Make sure you get that list from the blog. That could help an awful lot in keeping track in those earnings reports. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you guys could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. You guys are the best, and I'm just humbled every day with your kind comments. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market. Trying to decipher the volatility moves in this market and predict those is kind of a fool's game. So make sure you're using strategies that allow you to deal with that volatility. And be very, very careful looking at picking up any trades because of the whips that we could continue to see in this market. So first off, let's take a look at a few things here on the day. Here, for example, TIGR, although had quite a little bit of pushback yesterday on that worrisomeness, well, we're popping right back up here this morning. So keep an eye on TIGR. We may still have that opportunity if the bulls can get going to push that right on through here to the top side. So watch that closely. Apple had kind of a rough day yesterday, pushing on down on the tariffs, but then just worries that the tariffs out of China are going to hurt sales here even further after they disappointed on those phone sales in earnings. So watch that carefully. May still have more downside here to come on that, but I think any rally back up, if we could catch a rally back up, then I would be watching for that potential here of additional opportunity to short on Apple. Watch that closely. Take a look at Upstart. Upstart had a rough day as well, gapping lower yesterday but pushing all the way back up. And keep an eye on this for that opportunity for that to see if that can push on up and push on through that little area in the chart on Upstart with the volatility that we've been seeing. Of course, anything is possible. Let's take a quick look at United Health. United Health had a really good hold in there yesterday, and we're starting to see some of these health stocks do pretty well. Health stocks did actually quite well yesterday, so keep an eye here on United Health. Watching this resistance area up in here, this nice little consolidation in here. Your risk on that trade to a stop loss would be pretty low. Watch for that opportunity that United Health might pop right on through that level, so watch that carefully. Take a look at some steel stocks. MT picking up here. Gap down yesterday, surged right back up, and now we've got MT starting to push back to the upside. Keep an eye on that. This is interesting, seeing steel picking up like this, but watch, particularly with the dollar rising, but watch that closely in here. MT looking pretty good. You might also take a look at Steel Dynamics. Steel Dynamics, a very nice bullish chart pattern, nice little trend starting to happen here, and we're right in that area where we might catch that next buy wave coming through here on Steel Dynamics. I think that's worth watching. And a Nucor also holding up really well yesterday overall, worth keeping an eye on. If we take a look at RTX, Raytheon continuing to show bullishness in here, broke through this resistance, kind of rested here a little bit. Of course, the volatility is making this a little bit challenging, but you can see that possibility that we may extend right on through to this next area of resistance above here on Raytheon. So watch that closely. Looking pretty good there overall. When we take a look at the miners here, with gold and silver holding up the way they are, you might want to be keeping an eye on things like GDX. GDX looking good. You can look at Newmont looking very bullish in here, continuing to show lots of opportunity here, and a little rest and consolidation here. We might just pop right out of that area of the chart. Take a look at stocks like KGC, nice little stretch through resistance, nice little resting pattern possibly coming in here. I think I'd place an alert right up in here, wait for that little resting pattern to finish developing, and look for that pop on through to the upside. So quite a few things going on in those mining stocks. Take a look at IBM. Now IBM had that big move on earnings, and yesterday saw a little volatility in here, but it all resolved to the upside, and you can see that push going on in here. Every reason to believe that could continue to push. I would caution everyone about chasing that too heavily for that possibility that we're so stretched in this upside move that we could get a longer rest or consolidating move in there, but it is worth paying pretty close attention to that. Juniper is going to be reporting today, but this last move here in Juniper not looking good at all, and I would watch that carefully on this report today. Maybe we get that pop back up on that report, but I think there's a really good chance Juniper could see some more downside here, so keep an eye on that. Take a look at Disney. Now Disney held in there really good yesterday, gapping lower on those tariff news, but ended up bouncing right back up and holding in here. I think Disney could be setting up a bullish opportunity here and may have to rest a little bit more, but I would not be at all surprised if it follows through a little bit early to the upside here. And pushes on through. So keep an eye on Disney. So there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to. There are a lot, both on the long side and the short side here in the market, but there's a few. I want to wish you guys all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for listening and being here today. I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel, sharing these videos on your social media feed. You guys are awesome. Take care, be safe, and as always, I wish you all the very, very best.